Without any further ado, we are pleased to welcome Dean DeBaise.
Good morning. Morning, everybody. How we doing? Thank you. Welcome to Chicago, my hometown. I thought what we'd do today is talk about the next generation of DealScape, and as Eric said, give you kind of my take and my perspectives, a little bit of a different view of what's going to happen over the next few years in terms of deals, and give you a little sneak peek into our strategy and where we're going with it. Entertainment, some of you might not know, is been around for a while. It's an interesting consumer brand that focuses on lots of different sectors, and I'll take you through as we kind of talk about the industry. But we take a different approach. We focus on consumers, businesses, and also communities. We've got an interesting fundraising mechanism. What we've done over the last few years, actually we've been around for almost 50 years, is we've raised lots of money. So consumers have saved about $22 billion on our network. Businesses have actually grown to the tune of about $75 billion, and at the same time we've given back about $2.5 billion, it's actually a little bit more, to the communities that we serve because they're part of the equation. So very much started out as a local brand and have moved into a much more digital brand, a much more national brand, focusing on online, daily deal, mobile, and of course our traditional print products. So it's been a heck of a year. All I can say is wow. What's going on at DealScape, there's a ton of stuff happening out there. We thought we started this year that this was going to happen. So we're going to have Groupon powering Google and everyone was going to be happy. And everyone in Chicago, including me, was very excited about that. Happened to be friends with the Groupon founders and everyone was cheering for them. And then that didn't happen, so it kind of turned into this. So we got Groupon and Google kind of going after it. And, so they happen to have both of these companies have a massive presence in Chicago, so I just put those two up so no one be offended if your logo is not up here. But then every week something happens. Every day I get a text message about someone else is trying something or moving into our market. Facebook said, yeah, we're in, Yelp, in, and then you kind of see press announcements where, well, we're not so much in anymore. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today and also talk about it in a panel on the next session, because I view that as all just normal operating procedure in the daily deal space, especially if you've been a pioneer in a lot of industries. I've been early in a lot of industries. I've never seen people rush into an industry so fast like this one. And a lot of the credit primarily goes to Groupon. And speaking of that, those of you that actually live in Chicago, the Chicago Chamber of Commerce, we are hosting a dinner this year, our annual Innovation Awards dinner. So we're actually going to be honoring Eric Lefkowski and Brad Keywell right here on the stage. We'll be interviewing him, having a huge dinner. It's on October 6th. It's going to be a big innovation night, so any of you that want to come, we'd love to see you and talk about the next generation of growth, innovation in Chicago. Not just daily deals, though. Anyway, back to the industry. What is going on out there? Well, for those of you that like to monitor stats, this is out of Kantar Media. I used to be the CEO of that we sold to WPP. July was an interesting month. So the question is, is this summertime blues or is there a trend? Groupon down over 8%, Living Social down about 27%. So you can kind of draw your own conclusions. Entertainment, we were up 7%. So I think these are both trends and they're both summertime blues. I don't view this as bad information at all. But different people have different issues. Mashable has been kind of vocal about, well, maybe we misjudged some things. Even Forrester, traditional Forrester that really, gets these markets, had an opinion on it. My old boss at AOL, Ted Leonsis, has always had an interesting opinion about how open and fluid this market is. And even Boyden, who you'll meet later, gave a good perspective the other day about what is really going on with Facebook, which we'll talk about on the next panel. It's, some people need to be arms dealers, and other people need to be advertising platforms that connect and enable this industry. So there's a lot of that sorting out in the industry right now. I wouldn't worry about it too much if I was you. I like Facebook as an enabler. But my main message is the glory days, or the golden age as we like to call it, it basically hasn't even begun yet. It seriously has a long way to go. And I'll give you some ideas as to why that is. The first great news is, if you think about it, local merchants, which is where most of us have a lot of clout and relationships, have tons of money to spend. And that's the good news. The other good news is they don't have a lot of it to spend. Over 50% of it is small budget items. That's bad for big advertising budgets. It's good for daily deal markets. The other issue is these guys love to spend and they love to use digital to get their word out. Sometimes it's free, earned media, sometimes it's paid media. But if you look here, both good news and bad news, daily deals are way down at the end. Is that a good trend or a bad trend? I think it's good. We've really just begun. We've got a long way to go. The other thing is, another view of it is we've got very low penetration. So if you look at, the amount that people spend, it's got a long way to go. There's a lot of merchants that haven't been touched, as we like to say, and that I think is key. Also, some of them like daily deals. It's different from loving daily deals. They have a love-hate relationship with it, but they definitely like daily deals in a couple surveys that have been done. Others don't like it. But not liking something is different than hating something. They don't hate it, they're just learning to live with it. It's a new way to go. The discounts and promotions and coupon industry has been along for way too long. This is a new twist on it. The digital twist is taking hold. So I think, again, of all the sectors I've been in, I've always been early, whether it was games or search marketing or whatever it is. I've never seen so many rush into a market before. And my issue here is not that there's just too many, because anytime there's a spiral up, there's always the inevitable spiral down. But my issue here is, there's not enough innovation. It's mostly imitation. And my view about growing businesses is imitation is usually followed by consolidation, which can be good for some people. So if you want some proof of that, look at this. Two of the vendors, you don't want to guess who they are, serve up about 40% of the daily deal offers right now. That's a high concentration. And basically, about 1.3 offers are the average that's in a daily deal system right now. So that is partially because there's way too many vendors out there, but it's too small per site if you really want to engage consumers and get them to come back over and over and over again. And the other thing I think is interesting is there's only a few of us that are really in the 25 plus category in terms of markets. So we have about 30 right now that we're actively selling in directly ourselves, not counting affiliate in and affiliate out. But to me, that's interesting. So another interesting thing here is look at the 2 to 9 category. 2 to 9 cities is kind of where companies stop scaling. It's like, if you're going to go past 9 cities, you're a totally different company. If you want to stay at 9 cities, then you need a good strategy, a distribution strategy, which we'll talk about. So there's a lot of stuff going on out there. I call it category bunching. So many of these brands are here today. So I just put these up for the categories. I purposely picked companies that I know are here today and kind of pasted them in here. But I like the aggregation category. We're actually doing a little aggregation ourselves, so we're really just a primary vendor. I like it because it's a good consumer thing to do. So I talk a lot about how do you balance merchants and consumers and win in this market. It's the only way you win. You have to balance both. I like the aggregation model, not so much the financials of it, but the consumer aspect of it. And as you know, a lot of the tech vendors in the room, tech vendors, any industry I've ever been in, we always rush in. I've been a B2B tech vendor before. I prefer the consumer side, but I always love that, and there has been really good innovation there. My favorite one, though, is if you really want to look for innovation, is look at the niche players. Some people call them the verticals. So, there's some guys in the back of the room that'll get you a good deal in marijuana. That's an interesting website. Some people might need that after my speech. Who knows? There's others, where you can get contraceptives. There's others where there's some things I can't even talk about that you can get on daily deal sites. So I like that raw innovation. It'll all run its course. But the more people do vertical focused things, I think more the industry has opportunities to consolidate and do some very interesting deals. So let's go back to the merchant and the consumer. So when I came to entertainment this summer to accelerate our digital strategy, I said, well, I don't care about competitive analysis and Harvey Ball analysis where you rate every little, every feature on everyone's site. What I really care about is what value are you adding to consumers and what value are you adding to merchants. And if you're not doing the proper mix, it tends to be a very boring or old business model. So I view the old school model, and there's a lot of coupon companies there, newspapers, the people that send stuff in your mailbox, they're actually good coupons. They're not as valuable to consumers in a dollar amount, but they're very valuable, and it's a very addictive system for the merchants. Over here, you've got the short timers. So there's a lot of the copycat, not just daily deal sites, but a lot of the copycat sites, and there's many, many, many of them, and that'll kind of take its own cycle if they don't move out of that quadrant. You then have the quadrant that says, this is highly valuable to consumers. This is what this industry is going through right now. Extremely valuable, but not necessarily the right thing for a merchant model long term. It's great short term. And then you've got the win-win corner. So to me, the win-win corner is about how do you balance both good offers for consumers as well as great business models for the merchants. So I thought I'd take you through some of those components and what you need to do to kind of win in that category, again, in my opinion, and kind of show you a little bit about our strategy and how we've morphed along the way to kind of seize that space, if you will. So we basically view the world as a tradigital world. Both consumers and vendors live in a world where there's digital advertising and there's traditional advertising. And if you want proof, just add up how much advertising is spent in the United States on everything and how much is digital right now. We're still, and I was one of the ones that started it in the very early days in 1998. We're still growing, so that's the good news. The bad news is most brands really like to tap into both print and different types of mechanisms where people can actually go into a store, have a relationship, save some money, but drive traffic. And then so we've moved all that into the digital space over the last 18 months. That's not the real message here. My message here is, what are you going after? What's the market? Where are we trying to focus our growth engine? So to me, it's like, well, in 2014, this market is going to be about a $3 billion market, depending on whose forecast you like. And I always say, that's great, that's nice, that's just not enough. So I look at what else is out there. So on the digital side, there's lots of billion-dollar markets out there that we are actually cannibalizing, tapping into. In our perspective, we're converting them to a more discounts, promotion, digital coupon business. And then you say, well, what about all the other stuff? What about the traditional advertisers that are out there that are spending gobs of money that never even talk to a daily deal provider? So I like this because we kind of have positioned ourselves, and many of the companies that are here in the room are trying to position themselves kind of in the tradigital sweet spot. We're half in tradigital, half in traditional media, half in digital. And the reality of that is that's where the consumers are, and that's where the ad spend is still. And will be there for quite some time. And this is coming from a digital guy, so I'm not giving you an old pitch. This is one that is still evolving. So anyway, that's kind of what I think is an interesting target. Here's how we're approaching a traditional and a digital business model and how we kind of pull it all together into a platform. And my main message is you need to go beyond the deal. You can't just do deals. So we basically have local, regional, national relationships and affiliate inbound relationships as well. We add on to that a lot of third-party content, and now we're just starting to add social media content into that, which is becoming a big component of how consumers want to interact and share coupons. Second, we built a multimedia platform that moves us from more of a membership model to however consumers want to buy, whether it's free coupons and discounts and promotions, whether it's a daily deal or an anytime deal, or whether it's a bundle or an outright membership, which is probably the most popular, depending on how much discount they want over a month to a year. Then we plug that into a platform engine that essentially is probably old news to many of you, but mobile and online are obviously the biggest key growth factors, but there's many, many others where you essentially can systemically plug your data into other providers that already have things that are out there that have nothing to do with this industry. They just happen to have devices that touch consumers. So that's a whole different business model that maybe we can touch on in the panel. And then we target three markets. B2C, we're very heavy in. B2B2C, which many of you are in as well. And we also have a kind of unique channel on the B2B side, which is something that most people don't have. We spend all that time and effort and money because we go after a little broader audience. And I think knowing your audience is probably the most important thing out there. So my basic message here is you need to go beyond the deals. Here's how we do it. It's not necessarily the only way to do it, but we don't just provide deals. Our biggest discounts are buy one, get one free or 50% off. You can have daily deals that are the typical daily deal site type of offers that we tend to skew toward our audience more. Anytime deals, you can just go into the system and pull them out. But we really focus on, what is something how can we drive acquisition for the customer? How can we drive loyalty and return customers where they can use offers over and over and over again, either with their cell phone or a card? And then of course, this is the one they love the most, how do merchants get upsell? So I want to get someone in here, I want you to give them a good offer, but I want it to be contingent upon them not just getting a relationship, probably spending more money than they normally would. We're pretty good at tweaking those dials, and I think this industry should get better at it over the next couple of years.